on the road to recovery in Castle Rock, Colorado. Live from Millville, New Jersey, I'm on the road to recovery. We're on the road to recovery in Morgantown, West Virginia at Mountaineer Field. And live in Scranton, Pennsylvania, I'm on the road to recovery. Here I am on the road to recovery from Berlin, Maryland. Hey, from Caseville, Michigan, I'm on the road to recovery. I'm on the road to recovery at Ann Arbor, University of Michigan. So we're on the road to recovery in Eastern Tennessee, and I want to introduce you to an amazing couple with a tragic story, but out of that tragedy, in a way, comes triumph. Triumph in advocacy, triumph in two parents trying to share their hope from their pain. On the road to recovery with a family in recovery. I'm in Eastern Tennessee with Dan and Cindy Blom.
I'm Dan Blom.
I'm Cindy Blom. And this is our son, Eric.
Eric is our son. He worked in this home business with us. He was 29 years old on May 1st, 2014. 6 months clean and died of an accidental overdose of heroin. But he was a smart kid. He progressed rapidly, with speech, everything else like that. And when he started going to school, it was the same way.
So in 7th grade, our daughter tells us now, she's 2 years younger than him, her name is Chloe. She reports that in 7th grade she could feel a whole shift in him, and he started getting bullied in school. And at that point, she says, I remember him just going, I'm never gonna be the weakest one in the room anymore. So he figured out real early on that he needed to figure out a way to get chummy with the guys who were bullying him and the bad guys, and he just got really tough. And in that same period of time, one of his friends, he started getting weed for one of his friends' moms who would trade out Lortabs for him. So from 7th grade on, that was his first introduction to opiates. Fast forward to his senior year, and he had taken several Xanax and went to school and had a public intoxication charge. That was right before spring break. That was his first trip into rehab. And was there for 28 days. And he did really well. And he came out, and they allowed him to walk with his class, but he had to go to ALC, Alternative Learning Centers. But then the summer he worked at a children's camp with Chloe, and they had a great time. He was sober, he was enjoying life. We sat at dinner tables and had long conversations, and it was like we finally got to see him again and have him back. Well, then he entered college at Murfreesboro in his freshman year.
He got seriously into that whole drug culture. I mean, into all of the criminal activity, whether it be, making fake IDs to, dealing drugs, and, he was into it pretty good, and even had to take, probably over the course of 6 years, maybe had to take a semester or two off, either because of being in jail or some other reason that he was just incapable of going through school. And then at the end of his college days, he did graduate, and he had a degree in graphic design and a minor in printmaking and sculpture, and so that was his goal, and he met that goal. But right as he did that, his relationship with a young lady that had been long-term ended. Mm-hmm. And that really drove him over the edge. When he moved in here, I believe was when he started doing heroin.
He moved in May of 2010, and in November 7, 2010, he went to collect $80 from a guy, and the guy said, don't have your money, but I have this. And he'd never shot up before, and we were talking to him afterwards, like $80, and he's like, I didn't want to live. You don't understand. It wasn't that I didn't want the 80 bucks. I just didn't want to live, and I didn't want to feel anything. So they shot him up, and they revived him. He was gone for 45 minutes. He came out of it, and they were looking around the room, and he goes, "Dude, we've been doing CPR on you for 45 minutes." So I'm like, "Okay, so why would you do it again?" And he goes, "I never felt more peace in all my life." And then he would say throughout his chasing that, he said, "I chased that every time after that." He said, "and I never found it again." So at 2:22, Thursday morning of May 1st, we get a phone call from the detective, and they say, "You need to get down here, your son's in critical condition." So we drive, and we have no idea, what's going on. And you walk into the emergency room, and you say, "Well, we're Mr. and Mrs. Blom, our son's here." And all of a sudden, the office staff, they're like, "Okay," you can just tell on their face. And I thought, okay, that's not good. And then we walk to the back, and the doctor meets us at the door, and I'm thinking, he's talking really slow. Why is he talking so slow? He's in critical condition. We need to get there. And then as he started talking even slower and explaining, and I thought, he's gone. He's just gone. But then that day, a bunch of friends were there, and they said to me, "Cindy, how are you going to tell this story? What are you going to say?" My family didn't know, and I opened up my phone and I looked at Facebook, and our daughter had posted, "Worst day of my life. My brother just died of an accidental heroin overdose." And I said, "I guess we're going that way." So we've been telling the truth ever since, as hard and as painful as it is. But we don't have to remember what's the last story we told. We just tell what happened. And if it helps anybody, and hopefully we do as much. This is what we're saying here was a lot about the disease, and that's not who he was. There were moments of this creative, artistic, wonderful person that was amazing. In fact, in his cabin, the art piece called "You're Mine" is out there, and we have used his art. We've used his art to crush the stigma. We've used his art to say, there was a dual person here. There was an illness that he struggled with and made it so difficult for himself and our family, but there was also this other person that was creative and wonderful and beautiful and loved well. We're using his art. We do T-shirts and try to sell them, and we're actually using his designs. Dan has a E.B. Rooster's guitar T-shirt on, and they were going to do Rooster guitars. My parents, my dad is in Southwest Minnesota. It's a feed and grain company, and they thought, hey, we'll do Rooster guitars, because they had some wood from the buildings there. And after Eric died, we decided that we were going to call them E.B. Roosters, and we want to take some of the proceeds from the profits and put it back towards people who are struggling like Eric did. If we just throw our hands up and go, it's not our fault, and we don't look at where the care plan went wrong, then we're not going to be able to help people with their aftercare plans. So our son's not a junkie. Our son is an amazing guy who was an artist, who was a brother, and that's what we want to give other people's hope and say, you fight with him against the illness. Don't fight them.
Cindy, Dan, thank you so much for sharing your story, your son with us. I'm so grateful to have met you, to have you a part of my life, and to be watching what you're doing in advocacy, from tragedy to triumph, from tragedy, from your pain, to help other people hopefully avoid the pain that your family has endured. Thank you so much for all you do. And from Eastern Tennessee, I'm on the road to recovery with a family in recovery. I'll see you on the next episode. I'm Michael DeLeon.
Take a stand, you will stop.